Hello everyone on YouTube, welcome to another episode, and in today's video we're actually going to be talking about the different harmonicas. As a matter of fact, we're actually going to be talking about what harmonica is actually easier to play. Is it going to be a diatonic harmonica, or is it going to be the chromatic harmonica? Now as you can see, these harmonicas both have 10 holes, except one is bigger and the other one is smaller. Got my Hohner Chromatica Deluxe 10-hole Chromatica 1 chromatic, and I am using my Hohner Moraine Band Diatonic harmonica. That last reed is a little out of place there. Now, first off, which harmonica is actually easier to play? Well, it turns out that both can actually be easier to play. Now with diatonic harmonica, it's going to be much easier because you're just playing in one key. You don't have to worry about pressing a trigger on the slide. Therefore, you can get the notes that you need. My 6-hole draw is... There it goes. Oh, there it goes. Now, now the whole harmonica is working. So on this harmonica, you get 3 octaves, but you actually get a scale from holes 4 through, I want to say, to hole 10, but you don't get the leading tone to C, so you get... So that's pretty much, you get the whole scale on the higher end of the harmonica. Whereas on the chromatic harmonica, you get a scale on holes 1 through 4, 5 to 8, and 9 to 10. But on most chromatic harmonicas, you get a full 3-octave scale. This one is a two and a half octave scale on the chromatic, so it goes from this to C. I want to say the highest it goes is, if you're playing it normal without pressing this trigger for the slide, it goes to F, but if you press it, it goes to F sharp, but it's still the same 2.5 octaves. Now actually, both can actually be easy to play. Like I said, with the diatonic harmonica, you do get a scale on holes 4 through 10. On the chromatic harmonica, now the chromatic harmonica might actually be easier too, because it's the same pattern on holes 1 through 4 and 5 through 8. Now the only difference is when you start to play chromatic, you're going to have to alternate between holes, blowing and drawing, plus how many times or when to press the slide by means of the trigger. But it's still the same. Now if you press the trigger in and play the scale again, you can still get the scale, only if it's a half step up. Now playing a chromatic scale is the same way. It's the same pattern on holes 1 through 4, 5 through 8, and 9 and 10. Modern chromatic harmonicas would be 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12. This one is a 10-hole chromatic, but it still does the same pattern. Now, let's say you want to do other tricks with a harmonica. Now, on a diatonic harmonica, you can easily bend notes. chromatic harmonica, you can kind of bend notes, but most chromatic harmonicas you can't really bend because you have valves on there for each note. Although I want to mention East Top does make a chromatic harmonica where you can bend the notes, but most chromatic harmonicas you can't really bend because there's already a chromatic note for that particular hole. Like if you go from D to C, you can get the chromatic note, but there's already a chromatic note there. Much different if I had one of the East Top chromatic harmonicas where you can bend the notes. But it really defeats the purpose if you're going to bend the notes on a chromatic. On a blues harmonica, it's much different. Blues, you can get that really melancholic sound with the diatonic harmonica. Chromatic, you can kind of get that sound. Now the cool thing with chromatic harmonicas, let's say you want to play a pattern on the draw notes, alternating the slide presses when you're doing the trigger, you can actually get kind of some decent arpeggios. Sorry, my slide read on holes, it was 8, had to reactivate, apparently was stuck a little bit. But anyways, here it is. Well, let's get a cleaner sound out of that. You can actually get a really nice arpeggio out of this. Same thing if you do same thing. Now if you don't press the slide trigger in, you're getting the minor 6 chord. If you press the slide trigger in, you get an E flat minor 6. But personally for me, I like the sound of the D minor 6 because you can play really interesting things. Personally for me, I like to play the scale within that mode. You can also do the blues scale. A diatonic harmonica, you can kind of get the same thing too. But it's actually all part of one. If you blow through the harmonica, you get the tonic chord, which in this case is the key of C. But when you draw, you actually get a G9. So that's actually pretty cool. So on the chromatic, you actually get part of a G9 chord too. Now that's another thing on the diatonic versus the chromatic. The diatonic, you actually have the 1 and the 5 chord. Because honestly, cross harp position, especially if you're playing blues. Chromatic, you can kind of get that similar effect. But this is actually made to play all the notes on the harmonica. So in all reality, both harmonicas are actually easy to play. It's just, what is your preference of harmonica? Now for me, I've been playing chromatic harmonica for almost a month now. I've had this harmonica for a few weeks, and I'm actually really enjoying this. I mostly play diatonic harmonica, but this is actually the first time I've picked up chromatic. And it's actually just as fun as playing diatonic. I mean, you can get more out of a chromatic. You can actually play so many different scales on a chromatic. Especially, you can play the You can actually treat this like a diatonic instrument. Just, you can play it without the trigger to activate the slide, and it plays it like a C harmonica, but if you push the slide in with the trigger, you now have a D flat harmonica. So a chromatic harmonica is actually basically just two diatonic harmonicas that are just a half step up. Diatonic harmonicas, on the other hand, you kind of have to have quite a few of these to play in many different keys. This one is a C harmonica. They come in very different keys like G, C, D, A, F, E, and also the lower ones too. The chromatic harmonica, you just have one instrument, but you have two diatonic harmonicas in one. Yes, two diatonic harmonicas in one instrument, but they're a half step apart. But if you play it with the alternating blowing and drawing plus the slide presses with the trigger, now let's talk about the scales. How easy is it to play scales, and how many ways are there to play the scales on the chromatic harmonica? Now there's one way to play the scale on the blues harp, if you're playing it straight. You can kind of get those lower notes too. But you kind of have to bend the G. And you kind of have to bend the three-hole draw to get that A. Now you don't want to yank three-hole draw down too much. I've watched Adam Gusso's classic blues harmonica videos. He talks about proper bending technique. You don't want to yank three-hole draw down to get that is where you get the flat 9. In this case, that's when you get. You're getting that note. Like Middle Eastern Mary Had a Little Lamb. Now, of course, I did not play the Middle Eastern Mary Had a Little Lamb the best. Of course, you could probably do it on a chromatic. Like Adam Gusso did in the What is Bad Harmonica Playing video. I've watched that several times. I always like to watch that because I find that when he does the bending, he always does three-hole draw, and it's kind of funny the way he does it because you can get this the most annoying sound on three-hole draw. But if you really do it subtly, you can kind of get a full three-octave, almost a full three-octave major scale. Now it's much easier to do it on the chromatic because you have a two-hole draw to get the F. Now there's actually two ways to play this scale. The easiest is to play it with the blow, draw, blow, draw, blow, draw, draw, blow. Another way is to play hole 3 on the blow and push the trigger for the slide. Now there's actually 3 ways you can do this scale. I should say, sorry about that, 4 ways actually, because you can also do yeah, there's 4 ways you can play this scale. There's also about 4 ways. There's 4 ways to play any scale on the chromatic harmonica. Now, ultimately there's 4 ways to play the C scale on the chromatic. D flat, I just play. You can also do. Oops. Let's see, I counted. There's 1. 2. 3. 'So there's 4 different ways to play those 2 scales. There's not really 4 different ways to play on D. There's only like 1 way to play that scale. E flat, let's see. There's 1. 2. 3. So there's like 3 ways to play E flat major, and so on. There's also 3 ways to play F. There's 3 ways. Any scale, there's like 2 or 3 ways to play that scale in the chromatic. There's 4 ways to play the C major scale on chromatic, and there's 4 ways to play the D flat or C sharp major scale on the chromatic. Both harmonicas are relatively easy. One is more complicated because there's so many ways to play it, especially on a singular scale. There's so many different ways to play this scale. Like on the C major scale or D flat major scale, there's 4 different ways to play. And E flat, there's like 3 different ways. There's maybe 2 or 3 different ways to play the chromatic scale too. Because I can do it like this with alternating blow, draw, and slide triggers, because you're basically alternating the outward of the slide trigger plus pressing it in. And then you have and then you have so there's 4 ways to play the chromatic scale as well. The easiest way I play the chromatic is, and it's faster, because it's much faster to play it that way. Although I could do all the other 3 ways as well. I just like to do it that way because it's easier and much faster, and all I have to do is just alternate. It's like out, press, out, press, out, out, press, out, press, out, press, out, out. So it's very easy to learn the easiest way to play the chromatic scale on the harmonica. You just have to learn how to use the trigger to press the slide. So you go out, so you blow, then press, bring it back out, draw, press, draw, then, or blow, then you draw, press, blow, press, draw, and then blow. Anyways, that is what types of harmonicas are easy to play on the chromatic or diatonic. Which one is easier? Again, both can be relatively easy to play. It's just one has more ways to play it, and one strictly has 1 way. The diatonic, The chromatic can be treated like a diatonic instrument, but the diatonic is much more easier because there's only one way to play it. If you're playing it in the key that the harmonica is in. Also, there's two ways to play it because you're also got to consider the blues are played in the cross harp position. And there we go. What harmonica is easy to play, and how many ways can you play a chromatic harmonica? I will see you on the next episode. I will probably do another chromatic harmonica video, and I might actually teach you how to play Scotland the Brave on the chromatic harmonica. But I will be doing it in the way the bagpipes do it, which will be using, instead of the regular 7th note, I'm actually going to use, and I'm actually talking about the Scottish bagpipes, not any other bagpipe. Scottish bagpipes, particularly those of the small pipes, the border pipes, and the Highland pipes. I do believe the Uilleann pipes also use that scale. The Irish bagpipes also play in that scale as well as the regular major scale. So I will be putting that video out in the near future. Anyways, thanks for watching, and more to come later.